Oh my gosh, here we are with the Wise Women Roundtable. So excited to be back. It's been a little while for lots of reasons again. Like it's a weird world we're living in, I'm just saying. And what a time we are in. In fact, the Aries energy happening now and into April, it like will even get more so in April is just wild and intense and amazing. And so, um, as uh, we just had the final exact Eris Chiron conjunction on right, I think it was right before the equinox, and then and they stay very close together within, I think they're within um, a degree or so until May, and then within a few degrees for a long time after that. And this will be the last time they come together in Aries for about 500 years. So they Eris went into Aries in the 19 in like 1920, I think, somewhere around there. And it's there for like 120 years. So it's going to be in Aries for a little while longer. So Eris and Aries, just one letter different in how you spell their names, pretty much. Um, well, actually two, but anyway, they sound very similar. And then Chiron is in Aries, wrapping up its time in Aries and going to be going into Taurus. I think it's in June. I can't remember now. There's so many things changing. But anyway, going into Taurus for a short time, coming back into Aries and going back into Taurus. It's doing that dance. And we've now got Saturn and Neptune in Aries, not going back into Pisces. They're in Aries. Neptune will be in Aries for about 14 years. Saturn's in Aries for another couple years. So they've got a longer journey through the Aries realm. Of course, we're in Aries season, so the sun is in Aries, Venus is in Aries, and Mars is going into Aries. I think it's April 9th, and Mercury April 14th going into Aries. So we're adding to all this Aries energy. Plus, we're going to have an Aries new moon on April 17th with all this Aries energy. It's so wild of what is happening. So I'm feeling that there's a couple things we could talk about. And one is just what is the essence of Aries? Aries is often thought of as a aggressive, warlike nature. That isn't really the essence of Aries. Aries is the defender and protector of the cosmic order. And if it gets out of balance, then how do you restore cosmic justice? How do you restore the cosmic balance? That's what Aries would be most interested in. And there's many, many ways that can happen. But having a mission, a cause, a purpose is really important to Aries. And it needs to be a worthy cause, a noble mission, a worthy cause, something it's helping to keep people safe, keep the world safe, keep the earth safe. My daughter, who's a triple Aries, she joined Greenpeace for a few years. And it was like that was her mission. She was so into it. And then she just got exhausted because because all the things we're doing to the world is so bad, and she couldn't do it anymore. So her mission is fitness. Very Aries. Aries loves action. Aries loves to take inspired, decisive action that helps to further a cause, a noble cause, a worthy cause. Healthy Aries. Now, what happened in the patriarchy is that that warrior energy became about conquering and having domination and control over others, and it wasn't about being the protector and the defender anymore. So if we think about uh, Chiron in Aries, it's about how are we healing those wounds of the misconception of Aries that we've had for such a long time. And Eris being in Aries and the her story being that she wasn't invited to the party, so she created a lot of chaos. But but maybe it's the parts of ourselves that we're dismissing or we don't like, and we don't want to invite them to be part of the whatever's going on right now. And so what are our opportunities to heal and to invite all of the messiness, all of the chaos, all of the everything to be a part of what is going on now. And again, just to kind of get a sense of this, to have this kind of an Aries lineup with so many planets in Aries all at once is rare. It does not happen very often. Chiron, it'll be 50 years before it comes back to Aries. Eris, it'll be 500 years before it comes back to Aries after it leaves in a few more years. Um, uh, Neptune will take 165 years for it to come back, and then Saturn takes about 30 years. Um, the other planets are there every year, Mars only every 2 years, but it's just if you feel into those numbers, like how often could this happen in the way that it's happening? Um, I think it was 6,000 BCE when Neptune and Saturn conjuncted in Aries at the 0 degrees mark that happened earlier this year in February. It had been, it'd been a really long time since that happened. And then again, to have this kind of a lineup with like really pushing that Aries energy. In addition to all of that, we are in a time period until May 6th of all the planets moving forward. So like that fast action, fast moving, let's go, let's go, let's go. There's nothing to slow you down kind of thing. And Aries loves that. So it's like, let's go. What kind of action are we gonna take now? And it taking action is what creates change. It's like we can have great ideas, but if we don't act on them, nothing's gonna change. So this is the opportunity that we have right now is to take action for what it is we truly desire to create in our reality for ourselves personally and in the greater collective. Yes, it's chaotic, and yes, it's messy, and yes, it can be challenging, and yes, it can be scary even. Uh, but if Aries has this like this sees that mountain off in the distance, like I'm gonna go climb that mountain. And I want to be the first one to the top because Aries likes to be first and also does not like to be told what to do. So it's as long as it's like you're supporting Aries in their mission, they'll be good with you. They'll be fine. Anyway, so the other thing that's happening is that the sun is going to come along and be exactly conjunct Chiron and Eris, and that is happening on April 15th. So it's coming up soon. And before that, let me see, what was I thinking? Oh, that's leading into the Aries new moon on April 17th, where they're still all very close together, and the moon has joined in the whole process as well. So we're going to end this Aries solar season when the sun then moves into Taurus a couple days later with this like amazing new moon and having the opportunity to heal the wounds of injustice that are rampant and have been for eons of time to heal the wounds of injustice in our world as well as within ourselves. And actually, probably the best thing we can do is do it within ourselves because once when we change what's going on within us, then we change on what's going on around us. And so that's where we need to put the focus. And so taking action steps around how to do that deeper healing is is I feel like the probably the best thing that we can do at this time. And what does that look like? It's going to look like different things for different people. But to maybe sit and tune into what is it that you really want to create? What is your mission? What is your purpose? And have a sense of that, and then taking action towards that. And if there's wounding or there's challenges or there's things in the way, being willing to take action to see what you can do to shift that as well. Something just really quickly as I'm wrapping this up is that I remember hearing years ago that the original midwives, when women were giving birth to children, like say in tribal times or caveman times or whatever you want to however you want to describe that, was the women that the midwives were the ones who protected the birthing space. They protected the women who were giving birth. The women didn't need help. They needed to be protected because they were vulnerable and they couldn't. fight off an attacking animal or a person or whatever it might be when they were giving birth. And so, how are we going to protect the birthing space of this new world that's trying to come forth at this time? And I feel like that's the Aries mission. So with that, I'm going to pass it on to Elizabeth, who I know is going to have some amazing things to follow up with.
Thank you, Kaylin. And I just love what you were talking about just now about the protection of the birthing space. How beautiful. And how immense, and also kind of to add a little bit to that picture, when women are giving birth, it's a fully natural process. And that we can recognize that this is a natural process, right? And so taking what Kaylin was saying about this epic alignment offering a galactic level of justice, this is something for the human collective, right? It's that we all have our own soul's missions. And I usually like to look at those as, what are the polarities that you're here to come collapse, right? If you have like really specific drama in your life, I have really specific drama in my life. And there's always like the other side of that. There's the pendulum, and what we tend to do is some terrible thing will be going on in our life in a very personal way. And we'll try to swing that pendulum really hard the other way, right? And sometimes those polarities can be pretty brutal where there's no good choices. And victim tyrant is the big, big, huge polarity, along with good and evil, that has created a situation here on Earth, right? So we're here as many souls, an epic amount of souls. Just to remind everyone, there's more human beings right now on the Earth than all 66 12,000 year cycles combined that we've been through as a species. And I'm alluding to the 800,000 year cosmology that the ancients understood as our actual real birth date. So every 800,000 years, there's an alignment that ends up pushing humans towards a evolutionary step that becomes a new species. So the last time this happened was 800,000 years ago, when Homo erectus was pushed into a position of basically cosmic alignment and justice. And it's incredibly uncomfortable, and human beings, when put under that level of pressure, that's when we evolve. And we don't tend to evolve any other time. We're pretty stubborn. If there's any level of comfort, we're gonna stick with it. So so right now, as things get more and more uncomfortable, this is just the beginning of the squeeze, really. And the squeeze is not just from our society. It's not just from the matrix falling apart very systematically. It's not just from the global economy showing just how utterly fragile it truly is, because human beings cannot live at a global level. And that's why it's so fragile. But more so, it's pointing to the pendulum swinging. And so what's going to happen? What's the answer to all these big polarities that the collective has to go through? Well, we lined ourselves up, right? We lined ourselves up for this because humans here on Earth, it's not a normal, like, terraforming a planet and then making it so that you can send all of your family members over to the new planet and then create like a new family and all this stuff, and everybody's in contact and you got support from it's not like that. It's more like Three Eye Atlas coming by and saying, "Hi everyone, here's some extra complexity. We're gonna throw some sacred geometry and frequency at you, and hope it works out for you." So that's more what it's like, right? We're not gonna have all these wonderful spaceships show up and save our butts from a huge pole shift. It's not gonna happen. And as much as we wish it could, but why? Why is it like that? I think that these kinds of energetics are perfect because cosmic justice is exactly why Homo sapiens exist. We literally are the physical manifestation of justice when it comes to the long game of DNA, and the Dark Order are trying to have control over human DNA for billions of years. It's a billion, many billions of years long effort to get to this point where we're at. So, although it feels deeply personal, you're part of a huge galactic history that's played out to get to you, get you where you are now. And now all that has to trickle down to you so you can embody it, which Sarah's going to talk about after I discuss a little bit more about these layers. And then what's very important is that as you notice these polarities, it can help you to maintain objectivity. So, victim, tyrant, there's nothing nice about that polarity. You don't want to be a tyrant and you don't want to be a victim. And you have to step out of the polarity. You have to step off the hamster wheel, right? And so, how do you do that? Well, cosmic justice trickles down to you personally when you're willing to say, I'm not going to live like this anymore. I'm not going to be on a hamster wheel anymore. And that's exactly what's happening. And so people want to step out, but they have to find that center point. So, what is the center point between victim and tyrant? Well, it's sovereignty. That's the center point. You step right out. You say, nope, I am none of those things. I am not your enemy and I'm not your friend. I don't have to be anything to you. And you walk out. But good and evil is a little trickier because good seems like a good side to a polarity that we want, right? But good can create an interesting superior complex of morality, which we're seeing play out too, where people think, well, I'm good and everyone else is bad. And that creates division. So how do you collapse the good and evil polarity? Well, universal compassion. And universal compassion says everything has its place. Everything has its place. And that's how we win. That's how we win our cosmic justice. That's how we take the metal from the game and walk out of this structure of lies and these falsities. We win by saying everything has its place. All these evil people had their place. They had to exist to push us into a position to finally say no. Otherwise, you'll be too comfortable, as is the nature of humans. And everything in your life has had a place. It's all in perfection. That is a very high level of consciousness that humans are being forced into. And if you don't want it to be like being squeezed through a birth canal, then you're going to have to get really, really real and open your heart. Open your heart to what's on the other side of you saying, no, I'm a sovereign and everything is in perfection and everything has led us to this moment where we can make the right choices. Let it be so. And that it might not be my personal choice, but rather the choice of the divine will, which is the ultimate outcome of real cosmic justice, is the divine will becomes the only will. And it always was. It's just that the illusion that there's your truth and my truth and all these subjective truths, that has to collapse in order for the divine will to reveal itself. And you're an actor of the divine will. So although that sounds complicated, it's a description sort of from the top down to the personal of how all this looks. When you're watching everything move around, there is an order to it. It looks chaotic and wild, but it's really made of these very extreme polarities, especially these particular two that I've mentioned. So all you have to do is own your space, own your own history, own your relationship. It's beyond your personal human knowing, but your soul remembers. What's your relationship with your body? What's your relationship with DNA? You have to be invited to become human. What did you do to be invited to the party? You have to be invited because the human being is a conduit of incredible superpowers. And you can't just be wielding these levels of superpowers and not have any kind of standard. So even the people who seem like the real awful tyrants, they too had to be invited into being human because we've all had to play out pieces of these polarities. We've all had lifetimes where we were exceptionally good or exceptionally bad. So we're here to understand that. But also, what's your relationship with our planet, with the Earth? This place is unique and it's not like anywhere else in the galaxy. And so, what is your relationship with that? Why do you have you surrounded yourself, for example, in really specific souls, including people who have harmed you? Why and what is your relationship? It doesn't mean that you have to know the answers because you don't, but you can ask source and you can actually sit in presence and ask the divine will to show you. And be patient because in divine timing, all the perfection of all these pieces and all of your suffering will reveal itself if you're really, really patient. So the cosmic justice piece, I feel like, is a gateway. It's a big doorway and it's opening right now. And then on the other side of it is a new way of being. It's a relearning of how to be. And in that being, then we end up becoming more embodied. And so let's talk about that and let Sara explain that a little more deeply. It's certainly not my forte being embodied, so but I love that that's the outcome, the sovereign embodiment of the human being. So thank you so much, Sara.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Wow, what a conversation, huh? And I love actually how we're doing this, the three of us, because Kaylin, you have a Venus and Aries, right? And Elizabeth, you mentioned to us just before we started recording, you're a Libran, lots of Libra.
I am.
So there you are in the middle, talking to us about your area of expertise. Well, I'm not quite sure what this Aquarian, how she can talk about embodiment, but maybe I don't think I'm at the beginning of my journey at all, but that is what's coming through me right now. And you were talking about sovereignty, Elizabeth, and here I am holding the sovereignty essence in my hand as we're speaking. So, and also there's a fluorite in my other hand, and fluorite does many things, but one of the things it does is pulls out energy, discordant energy from places. But I also strongly feel that she's a beautiful stone of balance as well. That's my intuitive sense. So yes, embodiment. Well, what you were talking about, Kaylin, actually really helped me understand why I'm in that phase right now, because Aries needs to be strong, right? We need to be strong in our bodies right now. And I've always taken care of myself. I've always been someone who's, tried her best to eat well and supplement well, and I wouldn't say I'm fit in a kind of like athletic sense, but I've always done things like Pilates and yoga and dance and walking and things. I used to be a Tai Chi instructor when I was in the UK. So those kind of gentle forms of exercise. So my body has been, okay as I've gone through my life. But in the last year or so, I've just started, actually it was a couple of years ago, I started hearing, Sara, you need to strengthen your body. You need to be strong. And now I work mostly in the emotional realm, which also encompasses the belief and mental realm. And so it was interesting for me to start hearing the physical piece. And I was like, well, of course, because if we're emotionally and mentally strong, which I wouldn't say I'm the best at it at all, but I do have tools to help me with that, it needs to come down into the body. Because it's its kind of final place, if you like, it needs to really land. So I started doing some very gentle weightlifting and, just all the things. Really not very good at it at all, so don't check me out for any muscles because I haven't got any of those. But just taking care. And then last autumn, I heard about a 21-day what's called a liver reset. And I just knew, I love my food. Absolutely adore eating And so not eating or eating specific things for 21 days was just like, yikes, it wouldn't be my natural course of going towards something. But I actually knew I needed to do it. And it wasn't because of the physical weight loss piece, although I did lose some weight, which was actually very welcome from a menopausal point of view. Any menopausal women will know exactly what I'm talking about. But it was more from, I know the liver energetically to be an organ that's very linked to ancestral energy, because it's all about blood. Our blood is passed through the mothers and we pass it on down. And I also know, and again, this is not my area of expertise at all, but that essentially menopausal symptoms, this is what I felt myself, essentially was a backed up liver. Partly because of, poor food choices or, pesticides, the things. I don't need to really talk about them. But also, just the energetics of repressed anger, suppressed anger, which I can do very well. I came from a family, on the external, it looked like I had a really, it was okay, and it was okay. I was looked after by my parents and all those things. Nothing terrible happened to me. But we didn't do emotions at all. And so I never really got to express myself. And so for me, I really feel that that's why I turned to nature to help me move some of those energies out. And so when I heard about this liver reset, I was like, I have to do this. It was just like it was a bright light all around me. And so I did it. And since then, I've just noticed that things are starting to change in me. So if anybody wants to know about what I did, please just get in touch. But I'm not really here to talk about that. I'm just how to mention that maybe that looking after our livers on a physical level could be super helpful. So what is really coursing through me right now is the idea of embodiment. And I almost think I've needed to clear my liver as much as I can do at this moment in order for the next bit to come. So in more of the kind of priestess, as above, so below kind of energies, I've started realizing that the sovereign piece for us right now, from what I'm seeing, is to stop copying what others are doing. So I guess I'm talking a little bit businessy here, but not really business. It's like, yes, we need guides. All of us need somebody who's done something that we want to do. But the way that we've been taught is like, oh, go and follow, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. And we've all done things like that. And sometimes it's worked and sometimes it hasn't. But most of the time it hasn't, usually. And we're left a bit disappointed. But now it's time to really, okay, so what is mine to birth? And I need to bring it through my body. Now, I'm still learning how to do that. I'm not putting myself as an expert in any sense on that. But what I'm hearing for my own self is, in order to do that, we have to trust our bodies and we have to listen to our bodies. And so it's that gut feeling coming back to, oh, I did that thing, but actually there was a little voice saying, Sara, maybe whatever, but I ignored it because my logical piece came in. So just as an example, I have to make, it's not a huge big decision, but it is something it's not something I want to do, but it's something I have to make a decision about something. And my mind has said for a while, Sara, you need to do that because, it's old. You need to make a different decision. This morning, in that place of waking up, when I wasn't really awake, but I was waking up, I knew that it was time to make that decision. And I could feel it in my body. Before, it was floating around in the ethers. Today, this morning, I was like 4 o'clock in the morning, I was like, okay, I can feel it in my body now. Now I can do it. So it's on that kind of level to really start trusting ourselves, trusting our bodies. And I believe that I've become better at it since I cleared my liver in the way that I did, as much as I could. So that's really what I wanted to speak about today. There's 3 essences that could support us. the Bach essence, or Bach for people who prefer to say BACH or Bach, the essence that really helps with Aries energy is Impatiens. Impatiens is, there's different versions of Impatiens, but in nature it's a weed, and it grows along the lanes here, and it's a plant, or I don't know, it grows quite tall, but it's at least waist height ish when it's mature. And when the flowers open, it's pale pink, it's very pretty and white, and when the flowers open it lets the seed go, and at the moment of the seed going it actually sounds like a gun going off. Really interesting. It's like a series of popping. So impatiens is for that impatient. So, if we do know my other half's Aries, but it's like go, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up kind of energy. It's really good for that. So it kind of brings us back into that divine timing. So that's a really easy one to get hold of if you are feeling that, or to balance that piece of us, which we've all got right now because of all the Aries energy. The other one was walnut, which is also a Bach essence. Walnut is the essence for change. And it is that, Elizabeth, you were talking about the birthing canal. In the middle piece, it's very uncomfortable. So walnut is that place that midwives sit through. It holds us in that middle place. And then, there's the moonflower sovereignty. You can't see it very well because of the light here, but it's a beautiful white rose. Anything really to do with sovereignty right now, I think, can be supportive. So big, tall, the trees are very sovereign, they're very rooted. Big roses, big, tall roses that have very, very strong spines with all the thorns, just all the nature beings that, are strong, they're proud, not easily knocked over. And you can't tamper with them too much because of the thorns and things like that. You need your gloves on to kind of help. So yeah, how cool. It's time.
So cool. Oh my gosh, I love this. I love that. So if you don't know what your mission is and you don't know what you're committed to, commit to yourself and to your body and to being embodied. I love that, Sarah. That's so good. And then uh uh the thing about Aries is it's not necessarily operating out of logic. I know Aquarius does because I also have Mercury in Aquarius. The logical piece I really get, but Aries is not. It's very just like, okay, we're going to go do it. Okay, let's now this is it. And it doesn't have to be logical, rational, or figured out in any way. So this is so good. And I love the sovereignty piece and all that you were bringing through about the polarities, Elizabeth. This has been so, so good. So thank you. Hopefully you'll all want to come back and join us again when we get back together again. And on the other side of this wild Aries season. So, so bye, everybody.
Okay, thanks everybody. Bye bye.